The song was playing on the board. A man named Gray was working on the repairing of his car. He was also singing along with the music. He sat in his car and said, "I love you." He was then seen coming out of his car garage. He was drinking when suddenly a car approached him. A girl named Asha came out, which was Gray's wife. They came inside the house. They had a sweet conversation together. Asha and Gray came to a place in their electric car to meet Eaton. Gray introduced his wife to Eaton. Asha recognized Eaton as a wonderful company owner of Vessel Computers. She told him that she worked for a company Cobalt where they made robotic limbs for injured soldiers. Eaton asked them to follow him as he wanted to show them his new invention, the STEM. He told them that STEM can do anything like driving, talking, calculating, etc. He called STEM as a future brain. Asha and Gray were making love in the car when suddenly Gray noticed that the automatic car was taking them in a different direction. They asked the car to return home, but it replied that an error had occurred. They asked the car to stop immediately, but it did not. It was getting faster and faster. They met with a horrible accident. People came to rescue them, but they were not rescuers. One man killed Asha. Gray was in the hospital. 3 months later, Gray was seen with his mother in a hospital. The nurse told his mother that you can order anything from robotic arms. They will do anything for you, like making a protein shake. Gray lost his limbs in a previous accident. He was now in an electric wheelchair. Gray asked his mother not to stay every time with him as the machines were able to do pretty much for him, but she refused. Gray along with his mother came to the detective unit to find the criminals. Gray was not satisfied with the progress. Gray was in hospital when Eaton came to him. Eaton offered him that he could do something to Gray that could help him to walk again. He was talking about that computer chip called STEM, which he showed to Gray and Asha. Eaton further told Gray that he would carry the operation on him at his home away from the officials. Gray refused to restart his life, but Eaton convinced him. Gray was at Eaton's place for his operation. The chip was installed in his body. After the operation, Gray came back to consciousness. Gray started to move his hands. Everyone was so shocked. Eaton asked him to stand on his feet. Gray was so happy that he was able to stand again. They signed an agreement to keep all things confidential. Gray was drinking when he heard a voice. He was shocked as nobody was around him. He asked who was around him. The voice replied that he was STEM, the system which was installed in his body. Gray was having a conversation with STEM. Gray asked STEM if anybody else could hear their conversation. STEM replied that nobody could hear their conversation. STEM asked Gray if he wanted to point out something in the drone footage. Gray immediately replied yes. STEM pointed out that the man who shot Asha was not having a gun. It means that the gun was implanted inside his hand. STEM further told Gray that the man who took Asha's purse had a marking on his hand. Gray was unable to see that mark. STEM drew it on a page for Gray. Gray immediately recognized that sign as a military tattoo. STEM read the address from the logo. Gray recognized the person. He asked to call Detective Cortez. STEM asked him about his confidence because he had no proof. Gray reached the place. Gray secretly entered the place. He knocked at the door. Gray unlocked the door. STEM asked him to remove his shoes for safety. Gray was searching in the house. Suddenly, someone arrived. STEM asked Gray to hide behind the shelf. They both fought. STEM asked Gray if he could help him. He needed the permission of Gray to work independently. Gray allowed STEM to work independently. Gray became so fast and powerful. He killed that man. STEM gave full control to Gray again. STEM advised Gray to remove the traces of his presence. Gray was guilty as he killed somebody. That dead body was taken to the detective unit. After examination, the doctor found some medical implants in his teeth. Computer implants were also found throughout his body. They also found the gun implanted in his arm. Gray accused Eaton of not telling him that the STEM could talk. Eaton was very worried about the STEM. If the officials could find the truth, they might remove it from his body and put him back in the wheelchair. Meanwhile, Detective Officer Cortez was finding out the murderer of that man, and she came to know about Gray. STEM warned Gray that she had figured out the boot prints at the site of the murder. She told Gray that she is not accusing him, but she is confused about the timings. Gray refused to accept anything. Gray offered her to stab him in the leg if she wanted to see it. After asking some formal questions, she left. Gray reached the place named Old Bones in a wheelchair. He entered inside. Loud music was playing. He ordered whiskey. He asked about Serk Brantner, who murdered his wife. He further asked if anybody knew any information regarding the killing of his wife. He may stand up or come forward. Everybody started to laugh desperately. One man came up to him and dragged his wheelchair towards the washroom. Eaton was tracking the location of Gray. The men put Gray on the floor. Stem immediately blocked the pain receptors of Gray. Gray had a conversation with him. That guy confessed that he was among the 4 men who murdered his wife. Gray allowed Stem to take control of his body. Gray became powerful. He started tight with them. Gray asked him about other men, but he refused to tell. Gray picked up the knife in the direction of Stem and stabbed him in the face. Gray asked him about his name. He replied Tolan. Tolan told him that Fisk wanted to do it. Stem indicated the locket of Tolan where Cobalt was written. It was the same company where Asha worked. Stem told Gray that Eaton wanted to shut it down remotely. Stem told Eaton about the address where he could go to revert the programming of Eaton. Gray reached the place with the guidance of Stem. Suddenly Gray was feeling numbness and he fell. He was struggling to reach Jamie, the person who can revert the system of Eaton. The signals from Stem were getting weaker and weaker. Fisk scanned the eyes of Tolan to locate the location of Gray. Gray was struggling to reach his target. He knocked at the door asking about Jimmy. The door opened. Gray offered him cash to hack a computer for him. She asked which one. Gray replied the one which was present on his neck. Fisk was seen arguing with the owner of Old Bones. Fisk sent minor blades into the nostrils of the owner by sneezing. He started to choke. He died. Jimmy was trying to hack the computer. Meanwhile, Fisk along with her fellow came up to the same place searching for Gray. Gray asked the hacker to be as fast as possible. She replied that she had not seen this type of system before. She did it. Gray asked her when he would be able to move. She replied when his system would be rebooted. It would take a little longer. Jamie left the place. Gray shouted at her not to leave him, but she left. Gray was feeling helpless. He asked Stem to wake up. Fisk and his fellow were following Gray. They started to bang on the door. Suddenly, Gray saw Asha, which was his illusion. Fisk reached to the Gray, but Stem woke up. Gray became powerful. He started to fight them. Gray managed to escape the place. Stem was guiding him on what he should do next. Gray, with the help of Stem, killed the companion of Fisk. Gray's mom informed him about the arrival of Detective Cortez. She informed him that she found her wheelchair near the crime scene. They argued. She left the place. But before leaving, she installed the microphone to record Gray. Stem told Gray that hackers not only changed the programming but also made Stem autonomous. Now Stem didn't require the permission of Gray to operate. Now their next mission was to find Fisk and kill him. Gray took his gun and was about to leave. Before leaving, he had a conversation with his mother who tried to stop him. Meanwhile, their conversations were recorded by Cortez. Gray took the car and went off. Cortez started to follow him. Gray found something on his jacket. Stem told him that it was a microphone put by Cortez. He threw the microphone outside the car's window. Gray managed to take over Cortez. Cortez came to the mother of Gray. She asked his mother to tell her everything. Fisk entered the place where Gray was already waiting for him. He asked him to hands up and not to turn around. They both had a strong fight. Gray killed Fisk. He checked his phone with Fisk and came to know that Eaton was behind all this drama. Gray went to the place of Eaton. He pointed the gun towards him. But before he was about to shoot him, Cortez arrived at the place and pointed her gun at the back of Gray. She asked him to drop his gun. She came closer to Gray. She asked him to bend on his knees and then lay on the floor with his hands on his head. He did not want to kill her, but he was under the control of Stem. Stem wanted to kill Cortez. Cortez, by taking advantage of the argument between Gray and Stem, gave an electric shock to Gray. As a result, he became paralyzed again. Eaton took the gun and pointed it towards Gray. He told Gray that before him, he talked to the chip. This chip wanted to be like humans. So it chose you. Chip hacked the car of your wife and caused the accident. Now Chip wanted to kill me because if I were alive, I would make another AI chip like it, and Chip did not want me to create another AI chip. Now Chip made Gray to kill Eaton. After that, he was trying to kill Cortez, but Gray did not want to kill her. He shot his head. Suddenly, Gray opened his eyes and found him on the hospital bed. He called Stem, but no response was made. Meanwhile, his wife Asha came to him and told him that after an accident, you went into the coma. The scene again shifted to the detective where Chip killed Cortez by saying that now he has control over Gray's body.